All right, I want you to imagine something with me for a second. It's a Wednesday night. You're sitting on your couch, maybe scrolling your phone, and you get that notification from your bank. You know the one. Your direct deposit just hit. And for about 11 seconds, you feel this little wave of relief wash over you. Like, okay, I can breathe now. But then, almost immediately, your brain starts doing math. Rent is due Friday, the car payment auto-drafts on the 5th, you still owe your buddy $40 from last weekend. The electric bill went up again because apparently keeping your apartment at 72 degrees is now a luxury. And just like that, the money you waited 2 weeks for starts evaporating before you even open your wallet. Sound familiar? Here's what's wild. You probably think this is your fault. You probably think you're bad with money, that you spend too much on DoorDash, or you shouldn't have bought those sneakers last month. And look, maybe, sure, we can talk about that. But what if I told you that the reason you're living paycheck to paycheck isn't because you lack discipline? What if the entire system, the way you were educated, the way products are sold to you, the way your paycheck is even structured, was designed on purpose to keep you in exactly this cycle? That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a business model. And today, I'm going to pull it apart piece by piece so you can actually see the blueprint. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And more importantly, you can start building your way out. Let's start with something that should make you genuinely angry. According to a 2024 survey by Bankrate, 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. 78%. That's not just people earning minimum wage. That includes households making over $100,000 a year. 1 in 3 six-figure earners said they're still struggling to make it to the next pay cycle. Now sit with that for a second. You could be a software engineer in Austin making $120,000 and still feel broke by the 19th of every month. That's not a personal failure. That's a systemic outcome. Something structural is going on here, and it didn't happen by accident. So, let me walk you through the blueprint. And I mean the actual blueprint. The architecture behind why you feel financially stuck, even when you're doing everything right. The first piece of this blueprint is something I call the education blackout. Think about your entire time in school. 12 years of mandatory education. Maybe 16 if you went to college. You learned about the mitochondria, you learned how to calculate the area of a trapezoid. You probably read The Great Gatsby twice. But at any point, did anyone sit you down and explain how compound interest works? Did anyone teach you what a W-4 actually does? Did anyone explain the difference between an asset and a liability? No, they didn't. And here's the thing, that's not an oversight, that's a choice. The United States has one of the most sophisticated financial systems on the planet. Wall Street literally runs the global economy. And yet, as of 2023, only 23 states require a personal finance course to graduate high school. 23 out of 50, which means more than half the country sends 18-year-olds into the world with a credit card offer in the mail and zero understanding of what an APR is. That's like handing someone the keys to a car and never teaching them what the brake pedal does. Then we blame them when they crash. And this isn't new. This has been the design for decades, because here's what the financial industry understands that you might not. Financially illiterate consumers are the most profitable consumers. If you don't understand how credit card interest compounds, you'll carry a balance. If you don't understand how a 401k match works, you'll leave free money on the table. If you don't know what lifestyle inflation is, you'll upgrade every time you get a raise and wonder why you're still broke. The ignorance is the product. Your confusion is someone else's revenue stream. Now, let's talk about the second piece of the blueprint, and this one is sneaky. I call it the subscription economy drain. Look, 20 years ago, you bought things. You went to a store, you paid for a product, you owned it. Done. But somewhere along the way, the entire economy shifted from ownership to access.
And that shift was not designed to benefit you. It was designed to create permanent, recurring revenue extracted from your bank account in amounts just small enough that you don't notice. Think about what you're paying for right now on a monthly basis. Netflix, Spotify, iCloud storage, Amazon Prime, maybe a gym you haven't been to since February, a meal kit service you forgot to cancel, that meditation app you used 3 times, your phone payment plan, insurance on your phone because the phone costs $1,100 now, software subscriptions for work, maybe a Patreon or 2. Add it all up. For the average American, recurring subscriptions now total around $219 per month, according to a 2023 report by C+R Research. And here's the kicker. The same study found that most people underestimate their monthly subscriptions by about $100. You literally don't even know how much you're bleeding. And this is by design. Companies specifically engineer billing cycles, free trial traps, and cancellation friction to keep you paying. Ever tried to cancel a gym membership? It's easier to get a passport. They make it intentionally difficult because every month you forget or procrastinate, that's another $30 to $60 in their pocket. Multiply that by millions of customers, and you've got a billion-dollar industry built on human inertia. Your laziness, or more accurately, your exhaustion, is literally a line item in their revenue projections. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the third piece of the blueprint. This is the one nobody talks about because it sounds too simple to be dangerous. It's the 2-week pay cycle itself. Have you ever stopped to wonder why most people get paid every 2 weeks? Like, who decided that? Here's the history. The biweekly pay cycle became standard in the mid-20th century, largely because it was administratively convenient for employers. It reduced payroll processing costs. But here's what it also did. It created a rhythm of scarcity. When you get paid every 2 weeks, your brain enters this cycle of feast and famine. Money comes in, money goes out. You spend the first few days after payday feeling relatively secure, then the last few days before the next check doing mental math in the grocery store aisle. This cycle trains your brain to think short term. You stop planning in months or years. You start planning in 2-week windows. And when your financial horizon shrinks to 14 days, long-term wealth building becomes almost psychologically impossible. Compare this to how wealthy people interact with money. They don't think in pay periods. They think in quarters, in years, in decades. They're playing a completely different game on a completely different timeline. And the pay cycle you're locked into is one of the reasons you can't even see that game, let alone play it. But wait, it gets deeper. Let's talk about the fourth piece, inflation as a silent tax. Now, I know when people hear the word inflation, their eyes glaze over, but stay with me because this is the part of the blueprint that's actively robbing you right now while you're watching this video. Here's a simple way to think about it. In the year 2000, $1 could buy you a full meal at a fast food restaurant. Today, that same dollar buys you maybe a small fry. Your money is shrinking. It's losing purchasing power every single year. The Federal Reserve targets a 2% annual inflation rate, which sounds small, right? 2%, who cares? But think about it. Over 20 years, a 2% annual inflation rate means your money loses about 33% of its value.
1/3 of your purchasing power just vanishes. And that's the target rate. In 2022, inflation hit 9.1% in a single year. So your rent went up, your groceries went up, gas went up, but did your paycheck go up 9.1%? For most people, absolutely not. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, real wages, meaning wages adjusted for inflation, have been essentially flat for the average American worker for over 40 years. You're running on a treadmill that's getting faster, and you're not getting any quicker. That's not a metaphor, that's the math. And here's what kills me. Here's what actually makes me frustrated. people who benefit from inflation are people who own assets. When inflation rises, property values go up, stock prices go up, the cost of goods goes up, which means businesses that sell those goods make more money. So if you own a house, stocks, or a business, inflation is actually working for you. But if all you have is a paycheck and a savings account earning 0.05% interest, inflation is eating you alive. The system literally rewards ownership and punishes labor. And most people are stuck on the labor side because nobody ever showed them the door to the other side. All right, now let me get into the fifth and honestly the most psychologically destructive piece of this whole blueprint: manufactured desire. This is the engine that makes the entire trap run. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you bought something not because you needed it, but because you felt like you needed it? There's a difference, and that difference is worth billions of dollars to the advertising industry. The average American sees between 4,000 and 10,000 ads per day. Per day! Every single one of those ads is engineered by people who study behavioral psychology, neuroscience, and emotional triggers for a living. Their entire job is to make you feel like your life is incomplete without their product. You're not buying a car, you're buying status. You're not buying clothes, you're buying identity. You're not buying a new phone, you're buying the feeling of not being left behind. And social media poured gasoline on this fire. You used to compare yourself to your neighbor. Now you're comparing yourself to a 23-year-old influencer in Dubai who leased a Lamborghini for a photo shoot. Your brain doesn't know the difference between real wealth and performed wealth. It just sees the gap between your life and theirs and screams, "Spend more." The dopamine hit from buying something new is real. It lights up the same part of your brain as eating food or falling in love. And companies know this. They've turned shopping into an addiction, complete with triggers, rewards, and withdrawal symptoms. When you feel the urge to buy something you can't afford, that urge was manufactured. You were targeted. Someone in a marketing department put that feeling inside you on purpose. So let's step back and look at the full blueprint now. You were never taught how money works. You're subscribed to dozens of services bleeding you dry in small amounts. Your pay cycle keeps you thinking short term. Inflation is silently destroying your purchasing power, and a trillion-dollar advertising machine is constantly telling you that what you have isn't enough. That's not a series of unfortunate accidents. That's architecture. That's a building designed to keep you inside. So what do? How do you escape a trap that was literally built around you? Here's where I want to shift gears, because I refuse to be the guy who just points out problems without giving you something real to work with. So let me give you the counter blueprint, the actual steps. Step 1. Audit the bleed. This weekend, I want you to sit down, pull up your bank statements from the last 3 months, and categorize every single recurring charge, every subscription, every auto payment, every forgotten free trial.
I guarantee you'll find at least $50 to $100 a month you didn't even realize you were spending. Cancel ruthlessly. If it doesn't actively make you money, save you significant time, or genuinely bring you joy on a weekly basis, it goes. This isn't about deprivation, it's about intention. Most of that money is leaving your account and you're not even getting value from it. That's not spending, that's leaking. Step 2. Educate yourself like your future depends on it, because it does. You need to spend at least 30 minutes a day learning about personal finance. And I don't mean watching some guru in a rented mansion tell you to buy his course. I mean, read The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Read I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Watch videos that actually explain how index funds work, how tax-advantaged accounts work, how debt payoff strategies work. The financial education you never got in school, you have to give yourself. Nobody is coming to save you, but the information is free and it's everywhere. You just have to be intentional about consuming it instead of consuming another hour of TikTok. Step 3. Automate your wealth building before you can spend it. Look, Here's a psychological truth about human beings. We are terrible at making good decisions with money that's sitting in our checking account. If it's there, we spend it. So stop relying on willpower. Set up automatic transfers. The day your paycheck hits, money should automatically move into a savings account, into an investment account, into whatever wealth-building vehicle you're using. Pay yourself first, not with what's left over, with what comes off the top. Even if it's $50 a paycheck, the amount almost doesn't matter at first. What matters is the habit. You're reprogramming your financial operating system from consume first, save maybe, to build first, spend what's left. Step 4. Extend your financial time horizon. Stop thinking in 2-week pay periods. Start thinking in 5-year blocks. Ask yourself, where do I want to be financially 5 years from now? What does that look like? How much do I need saved? How much do I need invested? What skills do I need to earn more? When you zoom out, the daily temptation to buy stuff you don't need starts to feel small. It loses its grip on you because you can see a bigger picture. Wealthy people don't have more willpower than you. They have longer time horizons. They're playing the long game, and you can start playing it today, right now, this week. Step 5. Build an income bridge. I'm going to be real with you. Cutting expenses is important, but there is a floor. You can only cut so much. At some point, the math only works if you earn more. So start thinking about what skills you have that someone would pay for outside of your 9-to-5. Freelancing, consulting, building a small online business, learning a high-income skill like copywriting or web development or sales. The goal isn't to hustle yourself into burnout. The goal is to build a second stream of income that isn't tied to trading your hours for dollars. Because as long as 100% of your income comes from one employer, you are one layoff, one medical emergency, one bad month away from crisis. That's not stability. That's fragility disguised as stability. Now, look, I want to be honest with you about something. Knowing all of this doesn't make it easy. The trap was engineered by some of the smartest behavioral scientists, economists, and marketers on the planet. They've spent decades perfecting it. You're not going to undo all of that with one YouTube video. But what you can do is start seeing the game for what it is. And once you see it, the spells start breaking. The ads feel less powerful. The urge to upgrade starts to fade. The fear of missing out gets replaced with the clarity of building something real. Every single wealthy person I've ever studied started in the same place you are right now. They were broke or close to it. They felt stuck. They felt like the system wasn't built for them. And they were right, it wasn't. But they learned the rules of the game anyway, and then they used those rules to their advantage. They stopped consuming and started owning. They stopped reacting to their money and started directing it. They stopped living in 2-week cycles and started building in decades. You can do the same thing. Not overnight, not next week, but starting today. Starting with one decision, one canceled subscription, one book, one automatic transfer, one conversation with yourself where you say, I'm done being a product. I'm going to be the owner. Because here's what nobody tells you about the paycheck-to-paycheck trap. The door isn't locked. It never was. They just convinced you there was no door at all. Go find it.